Okay, so in a previous video, I showed some benchmarks with Google Chrome running under Rosetta. Got about running a benchmark that I like, speedometer. Got about 120 or 100 or there's about. But now Google has updated Chrome for the M1 chip for Mac ARM, Apple Silicon, whatever you want to call it. And so now, if I go to web speedometer, we're going to score in the 200s. Now this is pretty impressive because this is using an entirely different CPU architecture. Before, when I was running Chrome, it was running under emulation. So that means that as I understand, the code had to be compiled for the first time and then run through a program called Rosetta so that it would actually execute on this chip, which is not an Intel chip. So yes, we're scoring at 211 now as opposed to between 100 and 110 before. So the performance difference is significant. I'll try to run it again just for fun, just to make sure that we don't have any random hiccups or we're scoring too high because of something extraordinary happening. But I'm running this, I'm recording this screen, but I also have a 2K monitor hanging off of this machine. So it's driving the 2K monitor and it's doing this web benchmark. So this is extremely impressive. 214.7, let's just call it 215. So that's almost 100 points higher than it scored with Rosetta, because this is a native version of Chrome. Okay. So now I'll run a benchmark called Octane 2. And Octane 2 is scoring about 38,000, 39,000 under Rosetta when running Chrome. So when I ran this benchmark earlier under the native version of Chrome for Apple Silicon, I was getting like 59,000, something like that, which is insane because the highest score that I ever got was 49,000 on a $2,700 MacBook Pro 16-inch. So 55,292. That is pretty crazy. And it's actually even better when I run the benchmarks under Safari. So I'm going to run this one more time just for good luck. But the same engine that's running Node.js, the V8 JavaScript engine, is running faster than I've ever seen it run on anything. Intel, on Intel Mac, on Intel PC, on Chromebooks. The M1 chip is for real. It is really revolutionary. And for $1,000, okay. For $1,000, I'm getting a chip that can score 5,300, 5,500 on Octane, running a non-native browser. It wasn't built in, but it is compiled for M1 chip. This is a third-party browser that is scoring 20,000 points higher than a $2,700 16-inch laptop. I am seriously considering selling my 16-inch and just keeping and trading up this MacBook Air that I'm running this on and getting the 13-inch MacBook Pro just because this seems to score a little bit higher according to the benchmarks I've seen on the web. Okay. And just for fun, let's bring up Safari. See how it does on the speedometer. So Safari should score actually a little bit higher than 215 like Chrome. Safari should score about 220, 230. It's a little bit faster, but it's still mind-blowing that I have $1,000 laptop that can run this pretty demanding benchmark. Oh, maybe I was wrong. So 216. So it's scoring about the same. Safari is scoring about the same as the Chrome native laptop web browser. Let's run it again just for fun. So this means you will not. This is the best performing web browser that you can buy now. I mean, short of having some crazy maxed out desktop with I don't know, 16 cores or something like that. But for $1,000, you can't get a faster web browsing experience. 218. So these two benchmarks, Octane and speedometer, are excellent benchmarks for the simple reason that they measure, they're platform independent. You can run them on anything. You can run it on a Chromebook, you can run it on Windows, on ARM, anything. And it'll give you an idea of how well the web browser will perform. And web browsing, we live most of our lives in the web now. Web browsers and web apps are just so full featured that really the web browser is the killer app. It is the critical application that you have on your computer, because most of what you do is going to be in a web browser. And I am a IT pro. I am a data engineer. Basically means I move bits from point A to point B. And I can do most of my work in a web browser. Okay, so we got 62,000 as opposed to about 55,000 under Chrome. So let's run it again just for fun. That means that the WebKit JavaScript engine is significantly faster than the V8 JavaScript engine under Chrome. Although I must say that there's some things that I can do under Chrome that I can't do under Safari, or at least that I haven't figured out how to do. And one of those things is basically with one click convert a web page into a web application. So I have a preference for Chrome. Okay. The Octane scores are definitely higher, and the web browser, the web speedometer scores are about in the same ballpark. So all this to say is, once again, the M1 chip on the web really can't be beat. It's going to give you the best possible web browsing experience. All these really heavy web apps, all these really complicated web pages are going to render lickety split as fast as the computer can get the data down to the screen. For example, if I pull up YouTube, renders really fast. It's just really a great experience. Alright, that's all I have for now. Just wanted to compare native Safari and native Chrome. I'll be posting some more benchmarks later. The next web browser I'm going to look at is Firefox. This is actually also compiled natively for the Mac M1 ARM chip, or Apple Silicon as Apple likes to say. So let's see how it performs. Now bearing in mind, this is a native application. So first let's test out speedometer. Now both Chrome and Safari scored about between 210 and 215 on this test. So now we're going to see how well this rendering engine in Firefox handles speedometer. And it already seems like it's going to be significantly slower, even though it is a natively compiled app. This is optimized for Apple Silicon. I don't think that it's going to score as high as 210, 215 on this test, but we'll see here in a second. 177, and that's significantly lower, even though that's a very fast score, and if you like Firefox, that's fine, but it's not as high as 214, 215. So let's try it again just to make sure that there's no problems, that we don't have a weird run. But it looks like the Spider Monkey, I think that's the name of the JavaScript engine, Spider Monkey, and the rendering engine under Firefox don't perform as well as Safari and Chrome. So the Chrome V8 engine and whatever the WebKit JavaScript engine is, they seem to perform better than Firefox. 171. So let's just average it out and call it 175. So that's 175 as opposed to 215. Let's just call it for both Chrome rather and Safari. So Firefox is significantly slower in that respect. Well, let's try out Octane. So I have no idea what it's going to score, but because it was significantly lower on speedometer, I imagine that with this pure JavaScript test, it's going to be significantly lower also. Bear in mind we got 55,000 with Chrome and about 62,000 with Safari. So let's see how Firefox does. That is terrible. Native Firefox, this is native, is running JavaScript at half the speed, less than half the speed of Safari, and a bit more than half the speed of Chrome. But let's just say that it's about half as fast as Chrome and Safari, roughly speaking. But again, let's try it. Let's run it again just to make sure that we don't have a weird test. But I have the feeling that Firefox is just going to be significantly behind. I have no idea why the performance is, relatively speaking, bad. Although it's quite good on its own, but for a native application running on an M1 chip, I would expect the JavaScript performance to be much better than 28,000. 27,881. So again, let's just call it 28,000. So for Octane, the lowest score is with Firefox with 28,000. The middle score is about 55,000 for Google Chrome, and the best score is about 62,000 for Safari. So Firefox, I see no good reason to use Firefox on this platform unless you just like it. The web speedometer test for Firefox also was lagging quite behind both Google Chrome and Safari. 177 as opposed to 215 for both Chrome and Safari. Now, relatively speaking, just looking at these scores, they're perfectly fine. But if you want the best web browser performance right now, even on the M1 chip, Firefox is not the way to go. It's either Chrome or Safari, and I personally, I've become a Chrome man simply because I have a Chromebook, and I also have signed myself up with Google Stadia, so I play games through Chrome online. Which, side note, not every computer can handle online gaming, strangely enough. But that's a story for another video.